Good evening and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV, the trusted platform for in-depth analysis on politics, policy and governance. I'm Shafi'u Suleiman. Tonight, we turn the spotlight on the growing storm around the realignment of opposition forces under the Alliance for Democratic Congress, ADC. The ADC, now positioning itself as the new political vehicle for the 2027 elections, has reportedly seen its membership server crash 3 times in 48 hours due to an overwhelming rush by Nigerians to sign up. This wave of interest follows a string of defections from major parties to the ADC, spurred by opposition leaders regrouping and mobilizing support from their traditional bases. But serious concerns remain. Critics question whether the new coalition can overcome long-standing issues from ideological differences and clashing political ambitions to the exclusion of Nigeria's youth demographic, a group central to any real political change in 2027. And joining us tonight to unpack these developments is Paul Ibe, spokesperson to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, one of the coalition's prominent figures. He will be responding to top questions about the viability and direction of this emerging opposition front. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you, Shafi. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's good to have you. Also on the program, we will speak with Comrade Abubakar Atiku, the embattled factional president of the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS. He opens up on his alleged abduction and torture by thugs reportedly linked to Tinubu, son of the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, as well as his arrest and detention by the Department of the State Services, DSS. Thank you for joining the conversation, Comrade Atiku Abubakar. Yes, it's good to have you on the platform. I understand we need to work on the audio, so we'll get back to you. Right. Okay, but let's start the conversation from here. Mr. Paul Ibe, just coming in, you've had, part of the introduction now. ADC, appears to have been gaining momentum. Quite a number of people are rushing, to join the party. Some are even defecting. I've had that of a high-profile former minister, Wasiri, I can't remember the other name now, a former minister from Yobe, who joined, from the APC, and quite a number of others are also joining. But it's coming amidst concerns, very serious concerns. Let's start with the latest, Just a while ago or so, a couple of hours ago, 3 persons, aggrieved members of the ADC or leaders of the ADC approached the Federal High Court wanting it to sack the interim leadership in place, led by Senator David Mark, on the grounds that their membership of the party is not in alignment with the Constitution and all of that. This is just one hurdle. Let me get your perspective.
Well, the folks who went to court, they are acting, it's within their constitutional rights. If you are aggrieved, the best place to go to, is the court. But let me tell you that before, the ADC was unveiled as the coalition platform, a lot of work, was involved.
Right. And
there was due diligence. And the caliber of the people involved will not just jump on, on ADC just for the sake of, faith. So a lot of work, was done. And we'll see how the court, the suit that they have filed, we'll see how it, plays out. But suffice to say that, again, we are seeing the hand of President Bola Tinubu and his all progressives, confused, party.
But this is an allegation because, these are aggrieved members of the ADC, or rather leaders of the ADC. Many believe that it is something you should expect, when you are asking a party to collapse its entire structure and give way for the opposition figures to come in. Quite a number of members, including those key, actively engaged in the coalition, have hinted at this before this time around. That the reason why quite a number of them have been pushing for a new political party is because of some of these challenges. They knew that there could be windows, for external forces to cash in. And perhaps we're beginning to see this happening.
Shafi'u, it's very important for us to understand the background of all of this.
Right.
The APC, the ruling APC, has as a state policy, this is the policy of this government,
right.
To decimate the opposition parties. I mean, the president himself had vocalized it. They had spoken about it, and spoke from the platform of the president and commander-in-chief and talking about sweeping them. When this president is also unable to sweep the banditry in the north, the kidnappings, the killings, the north-central areas of Benue, Plateau, Niger, and in Zamfara state. He cannot sweep away all of that. And his focus is to sweep away the opposition party. That was the background. And nobody gave...
Even though he's also debunked that claim. He said he will be the last person to work towards a one-party state. He's a beneficiary of opposition and he knows what it is to have a vibrant opposition.
It's one thing to say something, is another thing. What he's saying is contrary to his actions, and the actions of his associates, of his supporters, of the members of his party. Right. And nobody gave the ADC a chance. And the mother, so to say, carrying the coalition baby, was an attempt that was made to abort, that baby. And unfortunately, by last week, there was a birth. There was an unveiling. There was a naming ceremony. You were part of it. You were there. And the Tinubu administration is now continuing the same pattern, and to get elements to try to see, how they can destabilize. Because clearly, what we see in this president, we have seen it before. 1996, Abacha, era, the 5 leprous, fingers. This is Abacha, this is Abacha.
It's a replica?
Exactly. So we know clearly what the game is. But unfortunately for him...
we're operating 2 parallel systems. You're talking about, military regime, and here we are in a democratic setting. And you think that this is
a civilian dictatorship. Make no mistake about it. This is an administration that has been focused on using the cyber security laws to hound, the media. This is a government that has been trying to decimate the opposition parties of PDP, of the NMPP, of ABGA, of the Labour Party, and the rest of it. Clearly, this is a government that has ensured that it has, conscripted the democratic, space.
All of this, anyway, some would say, Ali, because we haven't seen the party involved in your political parties. Political parties have been in crisis, and perhaps it is not the responsibility of the ruling party to fix what is happening internally in the political parties, especially in the PDP. This has been a protracted crisis, right from 2023, the aftermath of 2023, so to speak. Well, but then I wouldn't want us to dwell on that. Let's look at, other key issues, We're just talking about a legal hurdle that has just been instituted. This is one. Again, I've had the immediate past national chairman of the ADC also warning that this coming together, this alliance can crumble. That is, if you're unable to manage the conflicting interest. And we're beginning to see this conflicting interest manifesting. Just yesterday, your principal, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, hinted at running, for the presidency in 2027. Again, Peter Obi, one of the prominent figures, and the LP Labour Party presidential candidate in 2023, also mentioned that he is not taking any vice presidential slot. People should not make mistake about it. He is running for the presidency. Now, how do we reconcile this conflicting or rather interests going, into the 2027?
Shafi'u, we're in a democracy. And His Excellency Atiku Abubakar, has a right, constitutional right to run. His Excellency Peter Obi, His Excellency Rotimi Amechi, and all other people that are, desirous of throwing their hands in the ring. They are qualified, to run. That is democracy, at play. Where you ensure that you create a free,
space.
open, competitive, a platform environment for all of the, candidates, the aspirants, to be able to, fulfill their, their aspirations. So there's really nothing, wrong in it. We are simply making a mountain out of, a molehill. But I understand, exactly what you're hinting about. It is like a marriage. And it's still early days. Like, I mean, we have a couple, the man coming from a different background, speaking a different language, the wife coming from a different background. At times, it's even both intertribal and interreligious, marriages that we have. And I mean, with time, the young couples will begin to understand themselves, begin to make sacrifices.
Right.
Do you understand?
But isn't it too early to begin to see them operating at parallel level? Some would have expected that before even coming together, they must have realized that there is need for them to forge a united front, and then also have the commitment at the back of their hearts that we are going to, whatever it takes to make sacrifice, we're ready for it. But now, I mean, as they stand their grounds individually, that they're going to run, they are given an impression to Nigerians that, hey, it might not work as people expected.
I'm sure you're not envisaging that they have, the selector. If you have read Professor Chidi Ondekalu's new book, The Selector, how judges, topple, the people.
Right.
I mean, are you trying to say that they should have decided on,
But that has been the speculations before now, that they must have sealed a deal, that has been the direction. That we may likely see the Atiku be kind of ticket.
But, well, that is not really democracy at work.
Right.
Do you understand? Because, you see, the last 18 months or thereabout they have been on this, project, they have had understanding. And if they didn't have any understanding, they would not have unveiled, they would not have gotten to the point that they did. What is now happening is like what happens in every marriage. The in-laws will probably want to have an influence. The cousins, the mothers, the fathers, in this case, we're talking now about the supporters. So, it is the supporters who are, trying to jostle for space. I just read in the afternoon on Twitter, one of His Excellency Peter Obi's, supporters and a major influencer said that he had asked them to cease fire. I mean, what that meant was that they were, so that is understandable.
But even the principals themselves are also throwing this. Peter Obi was quoted to have said it, that he is not going to take any vice presidential slot. Atiku Abubakar was also quoted to have said that he is running for 2027. It is not about the spokesperson. It is not about the supporters. The principal actors themselves.
Between what His Excellency Atiku Abubakar and His Excellency Peter Obi, His Excellency Rochelle Mechi says, and ultimately, democracy at work, it is the delegates of the party, whether it is a direct or indirect primary, they are the ones who are going to determine the fate of these leaders. Well, all of this 2 fighting or 3 fighting, it will be settled by the delegates.
But should there be any 2 fighting or 3 fighting?
It's in the nature of democracy. You see, maybe because of the fact that we've even begun to lose the essence of what democracy is all about because of what Tinubu and his administration has been doing. I mean, everybody is being eroded into a one-party state. It's about choice. People have a right to choose. Throw up your candidate. Canvass for the candidate. Persuade others. And ultimately allow the delegates to be able to do what the constitution of the party has provided.
I'm sure you are following reactions, from across the country, especially of critical stakeholders in the polity. I've had one chieftain of the Labour Party, trying to make an analysis, also trying to draw the attention of Peter Obi, or rather advising him, rather questioning even his alliance with the likes of Atiku Abubakar and so ahead of the 2027. He was concerned, just like you said, perhaps the delegate will settle the matter, but he was worried that the Peter Obi he knows cannot be able to slug it out with this critical, politicians who understand, what it takes, to win presidential primaries and all of that. Perhaps he may not have, in the first place, the resources to do that. So what you are saying now, quite a number of Nigerians will begin to think that, okay, your principal would want it to end at the convention, for instance, where delegates would decide. And in that case, he is in a better position, to be able to defeat other candidates. Is that what you are also alluding to?
No.
Okay.
No, sir. Listen, I don't speak for, for Peter Obi. But I believe that with, the factors, things that are at play, even he himself has recognized that it will be difficult to be able to confront, the president with all of the levers of power, controlling, everything. It will be extremely difficult. And that, they saw it play out in 2023. That was everything that happened was deliberate. The parting of ways of Peter Obi from the PDP, it was all scripted, it was planned, it was executed by the same, man we were talking about,
okay.
Tinubu. There were characters, who were...
I said that...
Listen, there were characters who were sympathetic to Tinubu, who were planted around, Peter Obi.
Okay.
And with time, you saw what has happened.
So you think, for President Tinubu has a hand in influencing, if you like, or the decision taken by Peter Obi now to go his separate way, 2023. Is that what you're saying?
I'm telling you that from our analysis and our understanding of the situation and the modus operandi of Tinubu, clearly, and seeing analyzed what has happened, after how the former what was it? Is it the director general of his campaign? How he parted ways with him quickly after the election. How a couple of other people around him, moved away. How some of them left and joined, this government. How some of them joined, the APC. Clearly shows you that, he didn't also understand what was going on and around him.
So he was hoodwinked into, taking such a decision.
He didn't know. He didn't know. And now, with the benefit of hindsight, he has looked at the situation, he has analyzed it, and he has seen clearly that the only way to proceed, to be able to get out this government, that Nigerians, by the way, all of this process of the coalition was also further enhanced by the internal pollings that we had, and clearly Nigerians, the direction that they have shown is clearly the direction that the leaders of the coalition are treading. That's the path that they are following. So yeah, he knows that. So anybody that queries why he is part of the coalition, that probably will explain.
Are you saying that, based on your analysis, are you saying that he may likely concede, or he has already made concession for the vice presidential slot?
Shafi'u, you see, one day, you are a political, you have been in it. One day in politics is a long,
day.
So.
Right.
He has a right to contest. He has his supporters. He's speaking to them. Do you understand? And so, that is what we're having today. We don't know what will happen, tomorrow. But like I told you, in a marriage such as we have now, there are bound to be, a little distance. And with time, people will begin to understand themselves. Sacrifices will be made. The young man that does not like a busi would ultimately. Maybe when the wife garnishes with some, dry fish and all of that, you probably begin to see that, it is tasty and you could begin to have it. That's exactly what is, going to happen.
Okay, looking at what you just said, and perhaps just opposing it with what happened, in the build-up to 2023, quite a number of Nigerians are also concerned around the reason why your principal, always insists that he has to run. This is not the first time he has run. Against contested against Buhari, contested against Tinubu, and now again. So people are looking at concession. They need to make concessions that would work for Nigerians. For instance, many had expected that he should play the fatherly role, by allowing people. The young mind, so to speak, to be brought forward by the coalition. But now that his sister is going to run, didn't you think this will alter the entire calculation now? Because concern is that the zoning arrangement, even though not constitutional, still stands. And the South should provide the next president. Aren't you worried about this?
My brother, His Excellency Atiku Abubakar running even for a dozen times is not the problem that we have. We are in a democracy. And everybody is free to put themselves up for consideration for elective positions.
Even if it's going to affect the chances of the parties, for instance.
Listen, we are not going to import people to run elections from elsewhere. They have to be Nigerians who are capable, who are willing, who have the set skills. And you see, the time of us, going to be dragging people willy-nilly to come and be our leaders, that era is gone. We must focus on those.
What happened to mentorship?
Sorry?
What happened to mentorship? We've seen what happened, with the tinubu arrangement, He was able to mentor people, support them to get to a certain level. He waited for the time. For instance, he was the one that nominated the former vice president, for instance, Yemi Oshibanjo, as one of his proteges. And then he waited for 8 years for his turn to be able to contest, which he did and eventually succeed. Why is it difficult for former Vice President Atiku Abubakar to do similar?
Tinubu wanted to run with former President Muhammad Buhari, so it was willy-nilly, that he wanted to run. He also wanted to run in 2007 with His Excellency Atiku Abubakar. So don't.
But he made a concession when the push came to shove. He had to make a concession.
Listen, if we narrow this to just Atiku Abubakar, I mean, we are not being.
I understand.
We're not being fair
but it's a principal figure in this coalition.
Because you cannot deprive a man of his rights. Yeah. Do you understand? You can't deprive him of that right. The man wants to. As far as I'm concerned, it is driven by his passion and his commitment to give back to this country. So let me tell you a story. Way back when I left university. Before I left, my dad had retired. He was a foundation staff of the Lagos University teaching hospital. And then I graduated, finished youth service, I came out. No job. My sisters, no job. My brothers, no job. We didn't have any job. My dad had retired. And we were still living under his roof. He needed to provide for us. What did he do? My dad went back to work and continued to work until we were able to get jobs. And then he now permanently, quit the stage, for us. For as long as there is a vacuum, that vacuum must be filled.
Yeah. There is a vacuum, but trust is also another thing. Leaders should be able to trust, Is it to say that among the people who are jostling for this position, including Peter Obi, for instance, who has been at some point a running mate to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, cannot be, trusted, to be able to lead this struggle?
Shafi'u, we also put in the cart before the horse. A baby has just been born, delivered. That baby needs to be nurtured, fed, bathed, cleaned up. You need to watch the baby overnight. And then can't be talking about why is the baby not running at this stage? A baby that is barely a week old. What is important now is to grow this platform into a viable destiny. Otherwise, it will not serve any end.
Yeah. Okay.
Both of Atiku Abubakar, both of Peter Obi. So the focus now should be exactly what is happening. With all of the Yobe PDP executives depositing themselves into the distance, that of other places and all of that, mobilization and the rest of it, registration and all of that, harmonization of personnel, harmonization of policies, harmonization of strategy. That is what we should be talking about now.
So would you
not
advise
about who is going to run and who is not
but
going
would
to
you
run.
advise perhaps your principals to also trade with caution? Because some of the things they say define, how people see the future, so to speak. Because people are reading their body language. And then quite a number of Nigerians who are waiting to see the kind of concession they will make for this coalition, for this coalition to be able to succeed. Bottom line is, I mean, as they say, to remove the current administration 2027, isn't it?
Yes.
So if that is the case, why is it difficult, to be able to fine-tune, harmonize, and ensure that this road, to 2027 is seamless?
Who is afraid of Atiku Abubakar?
Well, I should ask you that question.
No, I'm asking you now because it's beginning to look. Listen, nobody bothers with non-entities.
Who are the non-entities?
No. I'm telling you about nobody bothers with non-entities. It's a human nature.
Right.
We will always confront what we think has value. And I think that is what all of this to shut down.
Are you saying that the APC is in a
understand.
panic mode? Is that what you're saying?
Sorry?
Are you saying that the APC is in a panic mode?
That, of course, it's clear. If what is happening with the coalition is not something that is, earth-shaking, they will not be talking about it. The president will not be talking about it. The ministers will not, leave their, assignments. Minister of, of Aviation, Minister of the FCT, and all of them, they will not leave their assignment, their primary responsibility, and get into the job of, trying to give the coalition and its leaders a bad name.
But I've said severally that, they're not losing sleep, over this coalition.
They are not losing sleep, my brother. They will not be talking about it. You only talk about the things that worry you. That's clearly. Because as soon as the coalition was born, they started to talk about food, this and all of the policies. The question is, there is something that they have seen. And you listen to the interview of Buba Galadima's, daughter.
Yeah. Quite a number of chieftains in the party. I've also had one also drawing the attention of the APC not to downplay this opposition and all of that. Talk to us about, the current moves, the updates, because I've realized the leaders of this coalition have, moved back to the basis. We already have 6 of them at the geopolitical zones, whether it was designed deliberately or so. We have David Mark at the central, we have Arabishola at the southwest, Amechi the south, and we have Erufai in the northwest, Atiku in the northeast, and all of that. So they've not moved to the bay. So what are they telling Nigerians? Because the concern is, what are they bringing to the table that is new, beyond what Nigerians are used to?
Listen, this is part of the strategy to harmonize their strengths. All of those leaders, have a voice, in their respective, zones. And so it is good for them to go there and, what they are doing is harvesting. They are harvesting all of, these prospective, voters who are angry, who are hungry, and all of that. Listen, the situation that we are in right now is enough for anybody to seek for an alternative. It's a natural thing. This is a satanic, evil administration. Make no mistake about it.
You call it satanic, but it is still having the support of quite a number of Nigerians who believe that the reform policies of the administration are yielding results, even though they are taking time. But they want to believe that, going forward, the results might be seen gradually.
Even you that is saying it doesn't taste very well in your mouth. You ask yourself, what reform are we talking about? These are people who are asking us to make sacrifices, and they are living large. They are living large. Oh yes, maybe there are people that will support them. It's natural. It's in the way. It is that is how politics plays out. That is how democracy plays out. But these are the characters who are behaving like the pigs in animal farm. 2 legs, good. 4 legs, 4 legs good. 2 legs better, and the rest of it. So all of the abundance are only on paper, not on ground.
Yeah, but some would say, your principal and quite a number of others in the opposition coalition are also part of the problem. They were among the people that crystallized or that coalesced into what is today the APC, for instance. They were part of the...
They can't be part of the problem. The Obasanjo Atiku administration of 1999 to 2007 had phenomenal growth. development, creation of jobs, fantastic policies. The communication sector is what it is today because of what it did with the liberalization of that sector. In one of the years, they had 15% GDP growth, and on average, they had 7% growth.
One of the success stories, but there are also stories that are not. Quite palatable. For instance, we're talking about the privatization in the energy sector, the power sector and all of that. That hasn't bring the necessary results. Privatization of quite a number of enterprises that were said to have been, done without, more like a giveaway. Isn't that also?
I don't know about giveaway, but I do know also that elsewhere, even in places like America, there are, enterprises that are even sold for, you can sell it for $1, just for $1.
Right.
The question is what will have been the value of, in terms of jobs, in terms of tax, in terms of return on investments, to people that will have brought their money in those particular, enterprises.
Right. Okay.
And contrary to what is being said, there was, the Bureau of Public Enterprises had a report to say that, based on their, their tracking of what is going on, a lot of the enterprises that were sold are doing quite well. Contrary to what we're being made to believe by.
Right. Okay. It's an unending debate anyway. But then I understand we have to talk more on this as events unfold. Thank you very much, Paul Ibe, for joining the conversation tonight. We appreciate you.
The pleasure is mine.
And viewers, we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll look at the crisis in the Nigerian National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, with factional groups, claiming leadership. One has been alleging that he has been recently been arrested, and of course intimidated into submission. So we'll get to hear from him. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.